Hello everyone, my name is Karolina Kasperek. I am a student at Nicolaus Copernicus University in Toruń, and the theme of my research was just perforators and awls on the possibility of identifying tattoo tools among prehistoric bone artifacts, experimental and traceological research. The main purpose of the research I have done was to decide if it's possible to identify tools used to make tattoos and differentiate them from other similar artifacts. But the question is, why? The main source we have knowledge about this type of art in prehistoric times are of course mummies. They are not ideal because the skin is preserved in specific conditions. This is why you have not so many examples of those marks on the skin, such as Ötzi the Iceman or Egyptian Amunet priestess. Also, we need to acknowledge that when someone fights a bone spike type tool, there is assumptions about it being a needle for sewing or perforating. It is completely understandable, because if we do not have many sources, or shall I say evidence, about tattoo practices, the artifacts will not be stated as something what purpose was making marks on skin. Today we do not know how people from prehistoric times were tattooed. With that, the main source of information is ethnology research on places where tattooing is playing a really important part in a culture. The basic method is called hand poke because it needs only spike tape tool and ink. That is why I decided to focus on this method. Preparations to conduct experiments. All the tools were made using the same methods and materials, such as deer bones, breaking with the eyes of stone anvil technique, 3 types of grinding stone with different gradation. I've decided to show before and after photos of those tools later in the presentation. Numbers are not in order due to the choice of showing tools used to make skin marks containing ash. Firstly, I removed the bone articular heads, hereinafter referred to as the aphyses, leaving only the stems of the bones. This way it was easier to start splitting them and recovering smaller and narrower parts. Then I picked the best looking ones. All of the 8 needles were grinded to get sharp point. Each received inventory number and ink. Each ink contained ash but different solvents: water, plant oil, blood and milk. It was important to keep the consistency of a paste. Proportions I used: in grams is stated the amount of pigment, in milliliters solvent. Number 1. Ash and water, 12 grams, 10 milliliters. Number 2. Milk, 7 grams, 10 milliliters. Number 3. Plant oil, 10 grams, 10 milliliters. Number 4. Blood, 8 grams and 10 milliliters. Tattoos were spots made with each ink. When blood was solvent, the scars after puncturing showed a little bit of ash residue. Water gave some visible results for naked eye. The residue stayed under the skin. Oil too gave results where ash stayed under skin. The same applies to milk. On the left side are photos before conducting experiments, and on the right after. Microscopic photos were captured using 2 types of microscopes. First one was Nikon SMZ 7450 colored ones. Second, Zeiss Axioscope 5 Vario grayscale ones. Tool number 3. The ink contained milk and ash. In low magnification there are visible residue. The top of the tool spike has been slightly rounded, and here we can see tool in higher magnification. At its very top a rather bright polish is visible, with a small degree of intrusion penetrating the micro-relief of the raw material, and it's most legible in the highest parts, where the micro-relief is completely obliterated. The topography of the polish is heterogeneous, in some places homogeneous. Its micro-relief is regular, and the highest points are rounded or basically flat. The texture of the polish is smooth in the highest areas, slightly rough in the deeper parts of the micro-relief. Tool number 15. The same ink as before. The top of the spike was observed to be rounded, visible at low magnification, with visible residue. The topography of the polish at the top of the spike is heterogeneous, with a smooth texture. The micro-relief is irregular, the high points are rounded, polishes below show abrasions of the micro-relief, which is regular. Topography of the polish is homogeneous, its highest points are flat. Texture in both cases is smooth. Tool number 5. Ink contained ash and blood. The rounding of the spike tip was not observed at low magnification. A slight rounding is visible at higher magnification. Residue visible is blood. Topography of the polish is heterogeneous. Its micro-relief is regular, highest points are slightly rounded. Texture of the polish is rough. Tool number 9. Ink the same as before. The rounding of the tool tip was observed at low magnification. Residue visible is blood. Polish covers a large part of the micro-relief. Its topography itself is homogeneous. Micro-relief is regular, with visible shallow scratches and flat surface. The texture of the polish is rough. Tool number 6. Ink contained ash and oil. At low magnification, the rounding of the spike tip was not observed. It is slightly visible at higher magnification. Topography of the polish is heterogeneous. Micro-relief itself is irregular. The highest points are slightly rounded. The texture of the polish is rough. Residue is visible on both magnifications. Tool number 16. Ink the same as before. The rounding of the spike tip was observed at low magnifications, and the side edges were slightly leveled. The polish is concentrated on one of the edges of the tool with smooth texture. The topography is heterogeneous, the micro-relief is regular, high points are flat. Residue visible on both magnifications. Tool number 7. Ink contained water and ash. The rounding of the spike tip and slight leveling of the side edges were observed at low magnification. Topography of the polish is homogeneous. Micro-relief itself is blurred. Highest points are flat. Texture of the polish is smooth. The residue is not visible. Tool number 13. Ink same as before. A slight rounding of the spike tip and leveling of the side edges were observed at low magnification. The topography of the polish at the spike tip is heterogeneous, while below that point it is homogeneous, with a visible regular micro-relief. The polish texture in both cases is rough. Residue is visible everywhere at higher magnification. On all experimental tools used where traces were observed, they differentiate due to differences in spike shape. The next step in my research is comparing them to spike-type tool from linear bandware culture. I want to do experiments regarding sewing for the same purposes. Thank you.